Hello and welcome back to Early Years Explorers. I'm your host, Afaf, Master of Managing Tiny People, and like many of you right now, doing my best to juggle it all. Today's episode is a little heavier on the heart. You see, many families here in Qatar and across the region are living through uncertain and unsettling moments. The sounds of sudden alerts and loud noises have interrupted what used to feel like normal, safe routines. And in the middle of all of this, our children are watching, listening, and trying to make sense of it all. Schools have shifted to distance learning, and everything from daily schedules to simple expectations has changed almost overnight. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if your children seem a little more sensitive, a little more clingy, or even a little more quiet than usual, you're not alone. In today's episode, we're going to explore how learning can still continue during times like these, how you can support your child in ways that feel manageable, not perfect, and how our preschoolers can still feel safe, connected, and able to grow, even when the world around them feels uncertain. So take a moment for yourself, grab a coffee, take a deep breath, and let's walk through this together. Hi, and thank you for joining me today. In this first segment, we're talking about the shift to distance learning. As educators and parents, we're not only navigating our own emotions, we're also supporting the youngest members of our community who may not fully understand what's happening around them. Alongside all of this, our everyday routines have been redefined, with learning now becoming part of the home environment in a whole new way. Parents and caregivers have suddenly stepped into the role of teacher, guide, and learning partner. And if you're listening to this while trying to convince a preschooler that scissors are for paper and not your hair, trust me, you're not alone. Schools too have had to adapt quickly. Now, in our case, that meant moving to asynchronous learning, where children complete activities at their own pace rather than following a fixed classroom schedule. Every school has approached this differently. But in our preschool, our focus remained clear, making sure learning continued across all key areas of development. We kept literacy alive through storytelling and language-rich activities. We included math and problem-solving skills, along with art and creative projects, so children keep expressing themselves. And of course, we know how preschoolers need to move. So we built in physical activities, music, movement, dance, as well as fine motor tasks like drawing, cutting, and threading. So what does all of this mean for you, the parents listening in? Well, it means that you've become the facilitator of learning at home. You're guiding, you're observing, and supporting your children through these experiences. Research shows that parent involvement, especially during stressful times, is one of the strongest predictors of children's engagement and emotional well-being. So even if your living room has suddenly become the classroom, learning is still happening. It just looks a little different. And yes, sometimes that learning begins with negotiating whether they really need to change out of their PJs or not. Now, in this next part, we're going to move over to supporting children's learning at home. Now, what does this actually look like in reality? Think about it for a moment. When children are learning at home, their routines are disrupted, and focus can be so hard, especially with background noise, siblings running around, or stress in the environment. If these past few weeks have taught us anything, it's that predictability and routine are key. I'm going to share a few simple things that really work. First, create a calm, predictable space. Even a small corner with a few simple supplies can make a big difference, and they signal to a child that this is their learning space. Second, break activities into small steps. Instead of one long lesson, try short, focused sessions, around 10 to 15 minutes, with little breaks in between. The third one, integrate creativity and play. Art, storytelling, and music aren't just fun. They help develop problem-solving, fine motor skills, and cognitive skills. Another important one is movement and music. Dancing, stretching, or simple exercises help children release energy and refocus. And finally, celebrate every small accomplishment. Research from BMC Psychology shows that children's self confidence, engagement, and emotional resilience improve when parents notice and praise effort, not just outcomes. Even short, playful activities like building towers, drawing patterns, or counting fruit in the kitchen all contribute to learning and development. And right now, in a time when so much around us feels uncertain, these small moments of learning and connection at home become even more important. Children don't always remember the worksheet or the activity itself, but they do remember how they felt while doing it. They remember sitting at the table with a parent, listening to a story, building something together, laughing during a dance break in the living room. In moments like this, learning isn't just about numbers or letters. It's about connection, comfort, and stability. So if today's learning only lasted 10 minutes, that's okay. If the math activity turned into a game, that's okay too. And if the biggest achievement of the day was getting dressed and listening to one story, trust me, that still counts as a win. Because in uncertain times, supporting children's emotional well-being is learning too. Okay, now I want to talk about parents as teachers. First of all, I want to say, welcome to our world. And if we're being real, stepping into the role of teacher can feel overwhelming. But here's the key: you don't need to be perfect. You just need to focus on observing and supporting your child's exploration by encouraging curiosity and effort. That's it. As I mentioned earlier, keeping routines predictable is definitely your best friend. That's key. And it's important to balance digital activities with hands-on learning. Research shows that children thrive when parents guide them, validate their feelings, and maintain structure, even during stressful times. And if your preschooler suddenly decides the majlis is their classroom, the sofa is a climbing frame, and their little brother is the class assistant, honestly, just roll with it. Sometimes the best learning happens in the middle of the chaos. Now let's move to the next part. We're talking about the emotional well-being during this conflict. How are we supporting this? With the ongoing situation in the region, children are being exposed to stress in ways they might not fully understand. Loud noises, alerts on phones, changes in routine, and the general uncertainty that adults around them may also be feeling at the time. Research from UNICEF on child development during times of crisis reminds us that young children experience these moments very differently from adults. They often don't have the language or understanding to process what's happening, so their feelings can show up in other ways. Maybe they become more clingy, more emotional, more restless, or have difficulty focusing on activities. Because of that, one of the most important things we can do is validate their feelings. Simple, calm words can make a big difference. Saying something like, "I hear that noise too. It sounds loud, didn't it?" It's okay to feel a little scared. This lets children know that their feelings are normal and that the adults around them are aware and present. Another helpful approach is to introduce calming strategies into the day. This could be something simple, like taking a few deep breaths together, stretching, having a quick movement break, or even putting on some music and letting the children move their bodies. These small resets help children regulate their emotions and settle their nervous system. We can also integrate reassurance into learning itself. Activities like storytelling, drawing, imaginative play, or even acting out stories with toys give children a safe way to express and process what they might be feeling internally. And most importantly, if I haven't said it enough, is maintain predictable routines wherever possible, even if the day looks different from a normal school day. Small routines like story time in the morning, a short learning activity, snack time, and movement breaks, these help children feel grounded and secure. Because at the end of the day, when children feel safe, supported, and emotionally secure, their ability to focus, learn, and engage naturally follows. So always remember, comfort and safety come first, attention and learning naturally follow. So, how are we celebrating all the learning that's happening with your child's teachers? Honestly, it's been pretty simple and really heartwarming. School apps like Class Dojo have been a lifesaver for us, and parents have been sending in photos and videos of their children learning at home. We've seen children drawing and painting inspired by stories they've listened to, counting and sorting everyday objects around the house, and experimenting with materials they found in the kitchen or their play areas. We've also seen lots of dancing, singing, and exercising during movement breaks, which, if you know preschoolers, is absolutely essential. And I have to say, I've received some amazing videos and photos over the past few weeks. Some children have even sent little personal messages saying hello, showing their artwork, or proudly explaining what they've been learning. Those small moments really remind us that the connection between home and school is still very much alive. Even with disrupted routines, children continue to learn and grow. Every effort, big or small, contributes to their cognitive, physical, and emotional development. And yes, that absolutely includes messy glue projects on the dining table, rainbow pasta math activities in the kitchen, and the occasional little brother, cousin, or family member being recruited as the assistant teacher for the day. Because sometimes the best learning happens right in the middle of real family life. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this thought. Right now, life may feel uncertain. Schools might look different. Parents have stepped into the role of teachers, and children are learning in new ways. But one thing remains certain. Learning continues wherever children feel safe, supported, and encouraged. So keep your routines predictable as much as you can. Keep making space for creativity, for play, for storytelling and movement. Continue validating your children's feelings and celebrate every small step they take. Because when families and teachers work together, even in challenging times like these, our preschoolers continue to grow academically, emotionally, and physically. And to all the parents who have shared photos, videos, and messages from home, thank you. Seeing children proudly show their work, explain their activities, or simply say hello reminds us that even during uncertain times, curiosity and learning are still very much alive. Thank you for joining me on Early Years Explorers. Wherever you're listening from, I hope today's episode reminded you that learning doesn't only happen in classrooms. It happens in homes, in conversations, in play, and in the small moments we share with our children every day. Until next time, stay safe, stay connected, and as always, keep exploring.